You're listening to Civic Media. You can tune into any of our live shows on any radio station across the state with the Civic Media app. Find us in your phone's app store and listen anytime, anywhere.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt and Nair on Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matt and Nair, who is currently on vacation, resting, relaxing, deservedly, and she'll be back before you know it. You got me for the rest of the hour, and you've got Sweet Cal B on the boards. And if you want to get in touch with us, do it. Call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. We are currently on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. Still ahead. Audio Sorbet at 10:35. Here's the question, because let me tell you something. With Audio Sorbet, can I get some harps, please? I want to hear some harps. Let's bring on some of the light. There they are. It's a heavy day. We're talking about heavy stuff. Need to. Here's the question. When did you start talking like your parents? When did you start saying things that they say? Is there a specific moment, or is it something just sort of creeped into your milieu, your soul, and you realize, I sound like my dad? Let us know. Drop a comment in the live stream, email us, text it, call 1035 Audio Sorbet. And then 1052, this shouldn't be a thing. Today it is the Have a Drink on Me edition, so you don't want to go anywhere. And if you want to contact us via the Civic Media app, that's great. I was talking about it earlier. You can listen to the shows all over the world. You can listen to any station. And we have a text to win contest tomorrow, Free Ticket Friday. We're giving away a 4-pack of club level Brewers tickets that Dan will try to win tomorrow, but he won't because he is an employee. But I'll talk more about that a little bit later. But get that Civic Media app. I'll explain the text to win contest later on in the hour. But you want to have it anyways because it's just awesome. I just said Dan because Dan is here. Dan is Dan Schaefer. He is the political editor for Civic Media. He's also the founder of the multi-award-winning Recombobulation Area, and he comes here every Friday, but it's not Friday, it's Thursday. It's not happening tomorrow because you're going to be up in Madison tomorrow, right, Dan?
That's right. I'm going over to Madison tomorrow for Cap Times Idea Fest, which has been going on all week. But, I wanted to make sure to check it out a little bit. So I'm going to be there Friday night and Saturday. Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will be speaking tomorrow night. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker will be speaking Saturday night. So I'm going to go hear what some Midwest governors have to say. Tony Evers spoke last night as well, and we carried it live here on Civic Media. And you can go find that on civicmedia.us and under the special broadcasts. And you go revisit that if you want to listen to conversation. I actually just listened to it this morning because I was unable to listen to it live last night, but I listened to it this morning. It's a good conversation with the governor.
Did you hear that, higher ups? Did you hear the way that Dan and I had banter, but yet whipped in the advertisement for Civic Media? We're good.
Promo-related banter.
Promo-related banter. Absolutely. I love it. And I want to talk about that discussion, that speech by Governor Evers in a little bit, but you can't get away from it right now. Yeah. I was sitting in the studio when I just saw the message come through, and my day kind of stopped. And at one point I realized, it affected me so hard that I just couldn't understand it. Like I did my work. I mean, the work got done, but it just hit me. And I don't know what you were feeling, but I also know that in certain instances, there are things that connect. I don't think you would ever hear this before, but connect you with Charlie Kirk in as much as you are a person who lives in the media sphere. You are a person on social media. You are a father. You have children. You have daughters. And you put yourself out at live events to talk about what you feel. And that's what I talked about with Todd earlier, is that we are afforded the opportunity and the privilege of saying what we feel. And that should never come with a price so high as what happened to Charlie Kirk in Utah. And I was just wondering for you, was there anything that you were feeling that was maybe even outside of the shock/not shock, because this happens all the time in America? I was thinking about you yesterday, and I wasn't sure how busy you were, so I didn't be like, hey, talk to me right now.
Yeah. Well, first, I think, first and foremost, it is just so awful. The rise in political violence that we're seeing in this country, the shooting of Charlie Kirk that happened yesterday, it's reprehensible. It must be condemned in the strongest possible terms every time. We need to be better than this as a country. We can have disagreements. We can disagree without being disagreeable, and we'll have people on the show that we'll disagree with here from time to time as well. But we want to resolve those disagreements by talking things through and being part of a democratic free society and not resorting to violence. And I think this is, I mean, last I checked, they still haven't found the shooter. They haven't apprehended the shooter, so we don't really know anything about the motivations of what happened. So I don't want to speculate or whatever. But, this is somebody yes, I vehemently disagree with a lot of the things that he had to say, Charlie Kirk. But, he was putting himself out there in a public forum and wanting to have a debate. And I might not really agree with what he had to say. Mm-hmm. I'd be on the other side of that debate in many ways. But we should, that type of thing is just so far beyond unacceptable. And he's a father, and I relate to him in the sense that he is a father of young children. Mm-hmm. I saw an interview with him a couple months back when a clip going around of him on Bill Maher's podcast, I believe it was.
Yeah.
And he was talking about, Bill Maher, like throughout the podcast is like drinking and smoking and like whatever and all of that. And Charlie Kirk, he's asking Charlie Kirk if he wants anything. He's like, no, I don't drink. I don't smoke. And like all of that. Yeah. And he was talking about how he's a man of faith and he, certain things about becoming a father had changed him. And like, that is something I certainly relate to. It's just like becoming a father. There is some certain chemistry in your brain that changes. Yeah. And maybe Charlie Kirk would have had the opportunity to go on and live a life that, that experience of being a father would have continued to change him in certain ways as well. That was something I certainly related to. I actually met Charlie Kirk very briefly at the RNC last year. I just, was with somebody who knew him and mm-hmm. introduced and said hi and that was it. He just seemed to me like a tall Republican. That was really it.
They have a lot of them. There's a lot of tall Republicans.
Yeah. But yeah, seeing some of the pictures and videos and things like that shared of him and his family. And like, again, he's not somebody I agree with politically, but he's still a person.
Yeah.
And even I would want even people who I disagree with vehemently to have the freedom and safety to live their life the way they choose to. And I think, it's a heavy day. It's a very heavy day.
Absolutely. And I'm going to bring into the conversation something, and Calvin, feel free if you'd like to join in, but I wanted to bring in something that we talked about before the show, is that it is possible to condemn the actions of what happened yesterday while still keeping in mind what you personally felt about his message. I won't say I didn't like him. I know it sounds weird. I'm going to say two things that are going to sound incredibly naive, but I have a hard time saying I didn't like him because I didn't know him. I didn't like what he said. I didn't like his message. Yeah. I didn't like his brand. I felt I have a lot of feelings on those, and they're valid and they're legitimate, and I feel right in saying that right now. But I can also in the same breath say it is a tragedy to what happened. It's a tragedy for this country. It's a tragedy when it happens to other political leaders. It's a tragedy when it happens at schools. It's a tragedy when it happens at a mall. It's a tragedy when it happens anywhere, period. Those two thoughts can live in my head. And the other really naive thing I want to say is sort of hooked in. I don't think it's where you were going, but I'll take it further, is that in my brain, there lives a place. And please let me know if you feel the same, whether it's you, Dan, you, Calvin, or anyone listening, where I say, and I know it sounds dumb, what if he just changes one day? What if something happens, not like this, but what if something happens where he just looks at the world differently? He doesn't have to become my best friend. He doesn't have to spout everything I believe in, but just something where he says, whoa. Because we see people all the time who pull themselves out of the mega echo chamber. Now, granted, these are regular folks I'm talking about, and they don't have anything to gain or lose. Charlie Kirk, the brand, Turning Points USA, certainly did if he would have said one day, I don't really know if I like Donald Trump. There are repercussions there that would have messed with his paycheck, and that's a whole other conversation. But there is still always something in my brain that says, what if just one thing happened and he just said, yeah, you know what? Let's bring it back a little. And then became a different kind of person behind the mic and said, I know.
And he still could have very, very conservative values and things that I might disagree with as well. But like, he was 31.
Yeah.
Like, it's just,
there should have been a lot more living.
Yeah. And it's very, very sad.
Yeah. If you're just joining us, we are Matt and Air on Air, currently talking with Civic Media's political editor, Dan Schaefer, about the tragic events in Utah, political violence, a gunman taking the life of right-wing conservative influencer, talk show host, podcaster, Charlie Kirk, who died at the age of 31 yesterday. And Calvin, I see you up there with the mic. What would you like to add, please?
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is a horrible, disgusting thing that happened, and I condemn it. Where I'm struggling with it personally is Charlie Kirk, 3 days after a shooting in which 3 children were killed in a school, said, I think it's worth it to have a cost of some gun deaths every single year so we can have the second. It's a prudent deal. And I am, he was killed, but according to his own beliefs, it is worth it to preserve the Second Amendment.
And the thing is, Calvin, I understand those thoughts. I think people, and thank you for sharing that. I'm sure if you're on social media, as we are, we see a lot of people wrestling with a lot of thoughts. I've seen a lot of clips and a lot of memes of things he has said as a way of saying, look, this is who he was. And I get that. And the question I have on top of what you just said, Calvin, is that, okay, what he has said in the past, he is now, it's that. Where do we, and he's gone, where do we then take it? As we were talking with Jim, like you and I, we can have this conversation, and we've had this conversation. We've been talking about it for years, on and off the air, before I ever got a paycheck from this company. But at some point, it comes to the buck stops somewhere, and that somewhere stops in Madison, stops in your state capital, stops in the federal capital. We have 418 days until state and federal elections. If we want a serious conversation, we need serious leaders. And if we don't have them now, we need to put them in office. And I've seen people on the comments saying we're not going to have an election because X, Y, and Z. And I understand that. But at this point, in my mind, we're still having elections and we still have power. And we can exercise that power by going to the ballot box. And that's how we show our leaders what we want. And then they maybe can actually do something about it.
And I think there's this piece of it too. And I disagree with what Charlie Kirk had to say about the Second Amendment or about gun violence and all of that.
Yes.
But what I believe is that nobody should have to suffer this type of tragedy.
No.
And that we should have regulations and laws that we should be taking action. There should be public policy to prevent gun violence. Mm-hmm. That goes for people who I vehemently disagree with and people who I am in lockstep with on everything.
Yeah.
And there shouldn't be a litmus test that people are just like, like trying these like gotcha memes and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. Enough of that.
Yep.
Absolutely enough of that.
Yeah.
Because if you have certain values that you hold, live in those values. Mm-hmm. Don't say that like those only apply to people who might agree with you politically. Like that's not actually having any values then.
And I'll say this, and I believe this is just me. I speak for nobody else but myself. I feel like you undercut your own values when you celebrate these things or put in light these things, and then you are upset when they happen to you in the circle that affects you, the people who you love or the people you look up to. If you are upset about them being the victim of tragedy, but yet you celebrate it on the other side, that weakens the conversation. And we're going to keep that conversation going with Dan Schaefer, who is the political editor of Civic Media and the founder of the Recombobulation Area. Call, text 855-752-4842. Leave a comment on the live stream. This is Matt and Aaron on the Civic Media Radio Network.
You're listening to Civic Media. Stay up to date on the latest news and information for your local community and Wisconsin by signing up for our free email newsletter. Visit civicmedia.us/email to get started.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt and Aaron on Air. My name is Greg Box, sitting in for Jane Matnair, who is currently vacating deservedly. She'll be back before you know it, but you got me for the rest of the show. And you also got Sweet Cal B, a.k.a. the board lord behind the board, because that's why we call him the Lord of the Board. And you can always get in contact with us. You can call or text. The number is the same, 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. You can also leave a comment on the live stream. We are on Facebook, YouTube, and the platform we still call Twitter. Still to come, Audio Sorbet at 10:35. The question today is, when did you start talking like your parents? Mm-hmm. When did you start talking like your mom or your dad? Give us a call, drop us a line, let us know what that was, when it was, and did you shake your head or did you hold it up proudly and say, yeah, I want to know why these weeds have gotten so long this late in the summer. But yeah, we're keeping the conversation going with Dan Schaefer, who is the political editor of Civic Media as well as the founder of the Recombobulation Area. And we've been talking about Charlie Kirk and the horrific tragedy that took place yesterday, how we can cope, how we can move forward, and what we need to do. And honestly, I think what we need to do is I want to talk about the fact that Governor Evers, this is a complete subject change, but I'm in charge, so we're doing it. You said earlier Governor Evers was at Idea Fest in Madison for the Cap Times event, and he was speaking. What was he talking about? He put it out a story. There was a story that came out earlier this week about the 3 things he can do in his last year. What were those things? Are they in this speech? What is he talking about in, I don't want to call his lame ducks period yet, but he's got 1 year left.
Yeah. He had a speech last night in Madison with journalist David Moranis, who is a biographer. He wrote the biography of Vince Lombardi. If any of our listeners may have read that one, It's very good. So it was just kind of a conversation about his legacy, about his background. You know, it really went really deep into like his upbringing in Plymouth, Wisconsin, and his first job working at a cheese factory and his first job was scraping the mold off of cheese and stuff like. So they really went into Governor Evers' background, but also. Talked about, what he might want to do next, what went into, his decision not to seek a third term, and what are some of the accomplishments that he was proud of. What are some of the things that he has learned in his time as governor? It was a good conversation. I was a little bit surprised that it didn't really bring up and discuss a whole lot of the events of the day yesterday about the assassination, about the shooting, and just like, again, it's a event with a politician speaking on stage publicly. Like I don't know what impact this shooting is going to have on any kind of events like this that might be happening going forward. So I was a little surprised they didn't talk about that a whole lot. I would encourage people to go listen to that. You can listen to the full broadcast that we had on Civic Media last night. You're going to be able to listen to another broadcast with Minnesota Governor Tim Walz tomorrow. And I think Evers, one of the things that he talked about in this Journal Sentinel interview earlier this week and in the conversation with David Moranis last night was about fair maps. And this is a conversation that's been going on for the last few weeks here as President Trump initiated this call for Texas to say, hey, find me 5 more Republican seats and this back and forth with California. And, I think different people on the left have had different views of this, and some saying, oh, we shouldn't, unilaterally disarm or, however they want to characterize it. And Tony Evers said he wouldn't do it when it comes to looking for more congressional seats. And he's just like, I've spent the last 20 years talking about fair maps. I've talked about it as one of my proudest achievements as governor, as signing into new maps as he did, in early last year. And so he said he's just not going to do it. And I think that it's a pretty honorable decision. And I think Tony Evers so often has a really good North Star about these things. I think it's a smart approach. And it seems that, he's not the only person from Wisconsin who has had that perspective lately. And I think those of us who have been part of this gerrymandering debate over the past, 10, 15, 20 years have seen Wisconsin crawl out from under these egregiously gerrymandered maps and get back to, fairer maps and hopefully on a path to having long-term path towards independent, nonpartisan redistricting. And I think that is what Evers is looking to do instead of, just get into this arms race of, hey, can we gerrymander an extra seat here? Can we gerrymander an extra seat there? And he said he's not going to do it. I have a lot of respect for him for that. Absolutely.
Absolutely. He's always, he says the hard things. He says the things we don't like. And I don't disagree with him either. And I know you and I talked about this on your Twitter feed. You took flack for,
disagreeing with Newsom.
With Newsom, but at the end of the day, that's all you were doing. You were disagreeing. You're not an influencer of policy. You can't make Governor Newsom do what he wants. You can just simply say what you believe. And I don't disagree because for me, it's not just about the fact that it's 20 years of trying to get fair maps in this state, but it's also, all right, cool, Texas does it, then California. Who's next? Then who? Then who?
And
then
Missouri,
who?
then
Who?
Indiana, then Maryland, then it's this race to the bottom. And I think, and again, it's similar to this same type of conversation we were having about Charlie Kirk, about people saying like, oh, he said this and they did this, do they deserve that? You got to stop aiming for the, just the winning the back and forth battle and aim for some higher ideals at the end of the day.
Absolutely. And the final thing I'll say on that, as far as like the redistricting goes, is that, while I agree and I say like the battle plan is bad, we also have to look at the top who said, give me what I want. And I need people who think Donald Trump is all encompassing, correct, and infallible to say, maybe that's not the right move, just for the president to call the governor and say, hey, give me what I want. Because that's not how you run a country. It's not even how you run a business, honestly. But what do I know? I only run a business. And I have a show here on the network, which is Civic Media. It's Matt and Aaron Air, which you're listening to right now. We're going to keep the conversation going into Audio Sorbet. Folks, when did you start talking like your parents? When did it happen? Are you happy, sad, proud? Let me know. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream or, call. Leave a voice note. I want to hear from you.
We all want to hear from you.
We want to hear from you. Stay close, stay tuned. You're listening to us on Civic Media Radio Network. Good morning. Welcome back to Matt and Aaron Air. My name is Greg Bach. I am sitting in for Jane Mattenair. Hello. She is on vacation, resting, relaxing, deservedly, and she'll be back before you know it. Don't worry. She just sent me a text message. She misses you, and she loves you. If you want to text us or call us, you can do that by getting on the phone and texting us by 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. We are currently on YouTube, Facebook, and the platform we still call Twitter. And if you want another way of getting in contact with us, Dan knows about this. We all know about this. And that is the Civic Media app, friends. It's absolutely free. Pun. You can go ahead to your favorite place to find apps. And I really think there are only two. I think it's the Apple Store and it's the Google Play Store. I don't think there's like Steve's App Store online. There is. And there's a guy who uses it and swears by it. Like he's like, Linux is the only way for computers. But
there's always that guy.
There's always that guy. And you're like, hey, man, live your life. I don't care, man.
Yeah.
I got Firefox. But you're going to go get the Civic Media app in your life for many reasons. First of all, it's a great way to stay in touch with us. You can call, you can text, you can leave a voice note. In that texting option, too, is how you are going to participate, in Free Ticket Friday tomorrow. I am going to give you a keyword in our show, and you're going to text that word in. It must be spelled correctly, and it has to come through the Civic Media app. You will then be entered to win a 4-pack of club-level Brewers tickets to see.
Those are hot tickets,
Those
Greg.
are super hot tickets. And this is going to be a hot event because coming in on September the 18th, on that day, if you win tickets, are the Dodgers of formerly Brooklyn. Formerly of Brooklyn. They're still the Dodgers in my heart.
Sure.
Okay. On the September the 18th, Thursday, it's going to be against the world champion Dodgers, who we just happened to sweep. We're not talking about the last sweep against the Brewers. That didn't happen. But that's going to be the ticket you're going to win for. So you're going to get the Civic Media app. You're going to get that keyword. And it's going to happen throughout the day. Every show throughout the day from Mornings with Pat Kreitlow all the way up to Nightlight with Pete Schwab will have a keyword, and every time you hear the keyword, you can enter in just once, but you can enter in for a chance to win tickets to go see the Brewers take on the Los Angeles Dodgers on September the 18th. It will be an amazing showcase as we get closer and closer to that magic number. But get that Civic Media app in your life, and also you can take it anywhere in the world, Dan. Anywhere in the world.
Anywhere in the world.
And you can listen.
And you know what I like about the Civic Media app, Greg?
What do you like about the Civic Media app, Dan?
If I'm driving across the state,
Yeah.
you might have your local Civic Media station that you have on plugged into your car preset or whatever. But if you're driving
Always.
across the state, you might lose the signal coming in and out. If you listen to the Civic Media app, you can listen to the whole show of Matt and Aaron on air while you're driving across the state. That's what I like about
That's
it.
how you live a good life.
That's right.
And we've gotten text messages from Vienna, Germany. We've gotten text messages from New Zealand. I even got one from Tempe, Arizona. All over the world, you can listen to us. But yeah, get the Civic Media app in your life. Get ready for Free Ticket Friday. And from what I understand, what I've been told by the Civic Media gods above, that there is another Text to Win contest coming soon. We'll have more details as we have them. We'll share them with you, but that's just good living. Get that Civic Media app, and you can find news and whatnot. I'm going to keep talking about the Civic Media app for the next 4 hours. Sorry, Todd Alba. I'm taking over. He's not listening. But all right. We've been talking a lot about very heavy topics today.
Just a heavy day. It's a heavy show.
It's a heavy show.
Yeah.
And I just want to repeat also two things. One, our hearts and our thoughts and just the remembrance of those who lost their life 24 years ago on September 11th. We mentioned it up top. Today is the 24th anniversary. Whether they were the families, the friends, the first responders, truly, it's probably all over social media right now, but we shall never forget. Seriously, we can never forget. And we must learn. I'll say that. I also wanted to take the time right now to say thank you to Dr. Kristen Lyerly, to Jim Santel, to Todd Alba, and to Dan Schaefer for being not only here with me, but being here for me today, because a lot of feelings were had in the past 24 hours or so, a little less.
Yeah.
And I wanted to process them in a way that could be helpful, and I wanted to have conversations with people that I trust and love that would be helpful, and they stepped up, and I cannot thank them enough, and I thank you guys for being there, and I want to thank everyone for listening and contributing their thoughts and ideas too as well. So,
and we thank you, Greg, for holding it down. And
stop trying to give me a compliment. I can't take it. I'm Midwestern. We're gonna take a right turn. Or a left turn, or we're just going to get off the topic. We're turning. We are going
to the off-ramp
towards somewhere that has cheese curds, actually, because this is now time for a segment we call Audio Sorbet. Ooh. And the question today on the Audio Sorbet is, when did you start talking like your parents? When did you start saying things that they say? When did you, how old were you? Where were you? Do you remember where you were when you said something and it just popped in your brain like, oh no, I sound like my mom? Or on the other side of it, hey, that's something my mom says. And you kind of felt a little bit of pride. I want to know from you. 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. Call up. Let us know. I want to know. Dan, you are of an age, you are in your late 30s. You have a home, you have children, you have cars to pay for, you have adult responsibilities. Do you have a moment when you felt like, oh, I talk like my parents now?
I don't think there's I talk like my parents now. I don't, not so much, but I think when you become a parent, you just start saying things that your parents said to you when you were a child. I think there's a lot of those. And I think there's just a couple. My grandpa was a pretty colorful character.
Yeah.
And he had a few things that he would say. And one that I started saying all the time, and now my daughters will say it too. So if you take a long car trip or something during the day, and you come back home at the end of the day, he will stop in the driveway and he'll had this certain cadence with the way he said it too. He would go, back the same day. And so now whenever I go on a car trip or whatever, and I if we're just out and about for the day, and then we come back home at the end of the night and it's a busy day, I'll pull into the garage and say, back the same day. And now I'll turn to my daughters and just be like, who wants to say it?
Oh God, that's so cute. Oh my God. I have a few things, and one, you're making me think. You're making me think of the car rides I would have with my dad, and we'd get in the car, we'd put our seatbelts on, and he would say, "We're off like a dirty shirt." I can remember him saying that specifically. And he always said, and it always made me giggle. It always made me laugh, and I loved it. And I don't say it now just because I'd be saying it to myself. I drive alone a lot, but yeah, that makes me really smile. Now, Calvin, you are of a certain age. You are in your late 20s. You are young millennial, or are you old Gen Z?
I think I'm technically old Gen Z. I was born in 98. So
okay.
I think that puts me in the first year or couple of Gen Z.
That sounds about right. Yeah.
Okay. Are you at the point now where you start saying things that your mother or father says, or repeating phrases, or even like, you know, if your mom says something to the effect of, you got to rinse the dishes before you put in the dishwasher, you actually say to yourself or other people, or you firmly believe in it. Like, I'm just kind of, do you have any of that yet, Calvin?
I can't say that I have anything specifically that's coming to mind, but similar to Cassandra's comment on the live stream about not knowing exactly when it happens, but people telling you that you're just like your parents. Most of the time it's out of frustration, but my mom often tells me I'm just like my dad.
Yeah. That doesn't make you feel good, doesn't it?
No.
No.
And I think she's wrong oftentimes when she says that.
Just like your father would think she was wrong when she said it to him.
But yeah, I would say it's mostly unconscious mannerisms that I've probably picked up.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely have that of my mom. I have ways of laughing that sound like my mother when she laughs. And my mother says ya der hey or hey there. She also says ena hey. And I, for a while,
she's from Wisconsin, I take it.
Yes, very much so. And I used to say, the other one, actually, the one she says more than anything, and this is where the story connects, oofta.
There you go.
And I used to say oofta to make fun of her so much. And then one day something happened where I went oofta. And I just had this, I felt like a part of my brain exploded because I realized she was not there. I wasn't saying to anyone and I wasn't trying to be funny. I had just forced it into my lexicon. So now is where it sits in my brain. And I say it regularly. Andrew from Maine says, similar to yours, Greg, your parents said, off like a herd of turtles. I love that one. I love
off like a herd of turtles.
Off like a herd. He also goes on to say, pulling up this amazing Civic Media app to listen to the last few minutes of Matt and Aaron Air and found out it was the Recombobulation Friday with the man Dan Schaefer. Recombobulation Friday on a Thursday.
On a Thursday.
And we want to know, folks, when did you start talking like your parents? What did you say? When did it happen? Did it make you feel good? Or did you go, oh, darn it, they were right about so many things? I mean, I feel personally, I didn't push away from it. I mean, my mother is great. My father was great. So therefore, I don't mind sounding like them. But I will say that I feel more and more like my father now that I own a house. I have hard opinions on the lawn. Like, and not to be funny either. Like, I get legit, like, frustrated. I get like, my father, the lawn was his canvas, and I'm starting to I think more and more about like I should get a chain weed whacker too, and I should get like all these things. And I think like him.
You're thinking about hardware store runs.
Yes, Dan, I'm telling you, I live between two Ace Hardwares, and I think every Saturday or Sunday, today's the day where I buy, some piece of lawn care equipment.
Sure,
and I'm gonna get that burst of serotonin in my brain that says, I've got it.
Yeah.
The lawn is mine.
And then when it looks good, I bet you feel good about it, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there are problems right now. There are some weeds growing that need to take care of. There's some landscaping that needs to be handled. But overall, yeah.
So you've taken that on as much as anything, as the inherited trait of lawn care obsession.
Frederick Bach, I am your son. Jenny on the live stream says, my voice always resembles my mom, but I realized recently I spoke and thought similarly to her when my niece told me she went on her first date. The auntie bear came out. Yeah, I totally get that one too. My niece just started dating someone a few months ago, and I turned into like the protective uncle. I'm like, why? She's got a dad and she's smart. What am I going to do?
So one of the things that I've encountered lately with my daughters is that they're getting, like, my daughter's getting old enough to like pick out music on her own. That's not just like me trying to force feed, whatever my favorite music is to her. And one that she found this summer was, I don't know if it's kind of a sensation now, K-pop Demon Hunters.
Yes, I want to start watching that soon.
Okay. She's listened there. It's like the number one listened to thing on Spotify. I think my daughter's responsible for at least half of those streams.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I don't get it. Oh no, it's happening.
This is really good. That's how I came to Taylor Swift. So I'm going to say that. All right, Dan Schaefer, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for hanging out. Thank you so much for having great conversations with me. I value you not as just a coworker, but as a friend. And we're going to keep it going and round the show out with This Shouldn't Be a Thing. Have a Drink on Me edition. Dan, thank you so much. Have a great weekend.
Thank you so much, Greg. And everybody out there, just please take the temperature down a little bit.
Absolutely.
Let's look to take the temperature down here.
Absolutely. You're listening to Matt and Air on Air on the Civic Media Radio Network. Stay tuned. Stay close.
You're listening to Civic Media. Find the latest news, information, and archives of all your favorite shows on the Civic Media website, civicmedia.us.
Good morning. Welcome back to Matt and Air on Air. My name is Greg Bach, sitting in for Jane Matinair, who is currently vacating, but will be back before you know it. You got me today, you got me tomorrow, and who knows what'll happen next. And you also got Sweet Cal B on the boards. Calvin, thank you so much for being here today, sharing your knowledge, expertise, your opinion. Just thank you.
You know, Greg?
Yes.
I'll be here every day.
Every day? On Saturday and Sunday?
Well,
That's
not
weird.
those days. You got Saturdays covered.
Thank you. And you can be friends, part of the show too, by calling or texting 855-752-4842, 855-75-CIVIC. Leave a comment on the live stream. Lots of shows left today. We got lots more programming coming up. After the news is going to be the Tom Hartman Show from 11 to 2. From 2 to 4, the aforementioned and guest from the first hour, Mr. Todd Alba. From 4 to 6, Maggie Dawn. And then from 6 to 8, Pete Schwaba has Nightlight. And also beyond that, it's not just the end of our great programming. You can find the Rick Smith Show. You can find Native Roots. Sorry, it's been a lot happening today. I'm a little discombobulated. You hear that, Dan? But I said it. There's a lot going on. We want you to stick with us. You can always listen on the Civic Media app, download it, and put it on your device, and keep up with everything we're doing. Really quick before we move on, two things. One, I spoke earlier about the position of Civic Media when it comes to political violence. We are strongly against it. It should come as no shock. And if you want to find out more, go to civicmedia.us, and it's right there on our front page, a statement from the company on our stance on why it is never the answer, it never counts for good, and it doesn't accomplish anything. So go to civicmedia.us to find out more. Also, got a couple of more comments coming in. We were talking earlier during Audio Sorbet about when did you start talking like your parents? When did it happen? Are you okay with it? Are you feeling good about that? Are you okay? All right. You need a cool drink? And let's see here. Jesse in Dane County said, I grew up hearing the crack in your tush doesn't make you crippled, so being lazy wasn't an option. Not sure when it happened, but I say it frequently now. All right. And Roger in Stevens Point said, when I got my first car, I sounded like my dad when I did my own repairs. My first curse words. I understand that too. I inherited my father's love of the cuss. And so we want to thank you all. And finally, Andrew also says, to add to Dan's closing statement, jumping to conclusions does not count as exercise. So yeah, let's just have conversations. Let's talk. Let's bring it down. Let's connect. That's how we connect. That's how we do it. That's how things get done, by connecting and finding out what unites us rather than divides us. So enough with that talk. We're going to keep it moving on with it's 10:55 and a half, Calvin. I apologize. It's getting late. It is time for This Shouldn't Be a Thing. If you ever have a thing that should not be, send it in to Jane, Calvin, and me. And you can do that by emailing us, janesays@civicmedia.us, JANESAYS @civicmedia.us. You can also use that email to send us your thoughts, send us guest ideas, show ideas, anything, business ideas for Beyond the Cheese. But let us know what you're thinking. Jane says @civicmedia.us. This one here, coming from the BBC, again, another reputable, fancy source. Nobody can see with the byline, but graveyard visitors told not to leave alcohol tributes. You listening, Wisconsin? Are you listening? This is coming from all over the pond, but a council has asked cemetery visitors not to leave alcoholic drinks as memorials on gravestones after a report of children removing the bottles and drinking from them. Yeah, Dedoy. The picture is of a gravestone with a bottle of Budweiser and a bottle of Smirnoff. Jeez. The authorities said in one case, a member of the public witnessed children opening alcoholic drinks and at a grave and drinking them. It added that the consumption of alcohol in cemeteries, which are designated as public spaces, was not allowed. I'm pretty sure you can't drink in cemeteries here in Wisconsin either. So just, if you're going to bring alcohol into the remembrance of a friend, Have a drink with some friends. Cheers your friends. Okay, Calvin, I'm going to say something. And this is coming in context to like sounding like my father. Bottle of vodka is like $30. I'll have a shot for you and remember you. I'm not leaving a $30 bottle of vodka next to your gravestone.
Yeah, I guess now I'm not very big on ceremony or tradition or sentimental on that front.
Yeah.
But I guess my idea, I don't quite understand the concept of leaving it there.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you want your loved one to be able to consume the beverage in the afterlife, and you would pour it out for them as is I don't even know if it's a tradition. It's almost become a meme at this point in the United States of pouring one out.
Yeah, you pour
for
one
your
out.
friends.
Although, I mean, now I'm just imagining a police report coming in from where you live of a guy in a blue hoodie pouring out a bottle of vodka on top of a grave saying, I wanted my friend to enjoy a cocktail. But yeah, folks, I understand it. It's not new, by the way. There are gravestones all over the world of famous people where individuals, fans leave all sorts of weird items, but don't leave the alcohol there. Yeah, kids are going to get a hold of that. Or you want to have some real fun? Leave a bottle of vodka there, but replace it with water and just see their faces and be like, this doesn't taste like happy. So that's my little piece of advice for you on this edition of
This Shouldn't Be a Thing.
Again, I want to thank everybody. Everyone. I want to thank traffic. I want to thank engineering. Calvin, without you, we do not get on the air. I want to thank everyone who called, text, everyone who commented on the live stream. Without you, there is no us. I want to thank Jim Santel, Dr. Kristen Lyerly. I want to thank Dan Schaefer and Todd Alba for just being there for me to have good conversations and really get my mind in order so I can find something constructive to say in this time. But really, thank you all. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We'll be back tomorrow. Don't go anywhere because after this, after the news is Tom Hartman and then a whole cavalcade of stars here on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to Matt and Aaron on air. Have a wonderful Thursday. Stay safe. We love you. You're awesome no matter what anyone else says. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
The national news cycle never stops, but it can be hard to find news about your local community. Civic Media is dedicated to providing quality local and state news coverage across Wisconsin. With the Civic Media app, you can get notifications about local stories that matter to you and your community. Find the free Civic Media app in your phone's app store and choose notifications from the menu to tell us what kind of news you want to hear about.